Muito obrigado, Jerry, and your Portuguese is very good. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to be here today to present to you the Jaguar nickel sulphide project, which, as Jerry said, is located in Brazil and specifically in the Carajás mineral province, and why we at Centaurus think that this is a project that is setting up to be a globally significant producer of Class 1 nickel at a time when the EV demand is coming online. So earlier in the month we updated our JORC 2012 resource, which now stands at 58 million tonnes at 0.95% nickel for a total of over 550,000 tonnes of contained nickel. Now I think that's probably the third biggest nickel resource inventory on the ASX, behind producers. Our focus of the drilling over the last 12 months was to bring the indicated resource component up so that we can complete scoping study and deliver economic evaluation of the project, and we did that very successfully, and the indicated currently stands at 20 million tonnes for 1.12% nickel, which equates to over 200,000 tonnes of metal. All the deposits are open at depth and locally along strike. We have multiple growth opportunities, and we have 4 rigs on site with more diamond rigs planned to come in the coming months, and we've recently changed out our RC drill contractor who was underperforming with a new RC contractor to arrive on site in the next few weeks. The resource that we talked about here is in the hands of our mining engineers, and they are producing a mine plan that will underpin the scoping studies that will be delivered in March and April. So we've had to be very proactive in our management of COVID in Brazil, and we've invested a lot of money in making sure that we can keep the rigs turning and that we're keeping our guys safe and healthy. We've built an on-site camp, which allows us to isolate all our field team during the week, and we have a full-time nurse who does daily testing. So we have had COVID cases, but I can proudly say that we've never had a spread of COVID within our organisation, and that has allowed us to keep the drill rig spinning. This is a quick corporate summary. Over the last 12 months we've had a very positive change in the register, with nickel base metal savvy North American institutions like Sprott and Dundee increasing their holdings. You'll see there's a couple of research notes that have come out recently, and you can see them on our website at your leisure. The main thing to see here is our Brazil presence, and this is how we've been able to keep the project running. We've got Bruno Scapelli, who is an executive director and our country manager in Brazil, and he's off-site with Gaudius Montresor, who is our exploration manager, and these are the guys that have been able to keep the project moving forward while the Australian team hasn't been able to get onto site. Our board is led by Darren Gordon, and they have a vast experience in developing and operating mines, nickel mines, iron ore mines and gold mines. So suffice to say, we're quite bullish on the outlooking demand for nickel and the nickel price, and how it's been, and mainly the demand for Class 1 nickel, and specifically clean and effectively mined Class 1 nickel. And the bonus for working in Brazil is that Brazil power comes from more than 80% renewables, and the majority of that is hydroelectric power. In the state of the Pará, there's multiple hydroelectric power stations that feed the power. So we believe at Centaurus that we will be able to produce a Class 1 nickel with a very low carbon footprint for this reason. So at Centaurus, our vision is to take this large resource and turn it into a mine, and we plan to do that by end of 2024, with the aspiration to produce 20,000 tonnes of nickel per annum for a long life. So we think we have the resource to do it. We think it's positioned in a very good location, and we've got the right team. So for those who are not familiar with the Carajás mineral province, it's basically like combining the Pilbara and the Gawler ISCG craton in one. It has the world's second biggest ISCG mine in Salobo and the biggest iron ore mine in S11D. And Valley have been here since the 70s, and they've invested very heavily in infrastructure, power, road and rail. We're located only 15 kilometres from the Valley Onça Puma ferronickel plant that was built in 2012, and they spent $3 billion there. So the towns of Tucumán and Orlando do Norte, they're servicing that mine, and they have a population of over 70,000 people. That's 40 kilometres from our site. So getting skilled labour should be relatively easy. Tucumán hosts a substation, a 138 kV substation, which is about 40 kilometres from the site, so we should have good access to low-cost power. So the resource currently stands at 58 million tonnes at 0.95% nickel, and as I said, the focus of our drilling to date has been to bring the indicated up so that we can deliver a scoping study. All our deposits remain open, and 80% of that resource is within 200 metres of surface. So that means that this is going to be a large open pit mine. The resource was based on 70,000 metres of drilling, and within that resource there is a high-grade component, and that just shows that if required, there is optionality to increase the grade through the plant. So behind me, these are the Jaguar deposits. The strike length there is about 3 kilometres, and these are the Rosa and Onça Preta deposits in the background. Now, the yellow shows you the indicated material, and you will see that at Jaguar Central, Jaguar South, Jaguar North, and Onça Preta is where we've been focusing the drilling, and those deposits hold 67% of the mineral inventory, and they're the deposits that are going to underpin the scoping study. At Jaguar Central, we've got 10 million tonnes at 1% nickel, and 80% of that is in indicated. At Jaguar South, we have 18 million tonnes at 1% nickel, and more than 50% is in indicated. And I would suggest if any of this was in Kambalda, these would have been pits 20 years ago, and there'd be underground operations working under them as we speak. So with that resource base, we are now, we have the model in the hands of Entech, who are running through the mine scheduling, and DRA Global have been responsible for doing the work on the plant capital and operating costs. We've done extensive metallurgical test work that continuously demonstrates that we can get 80% recoveries and produce a 16% concentrate with good iron MgO ratios and low arsenic, so a very saleable product. The scoping study, what we call the base case scoping study, will be a conventional flotation plant similar to what we see at Nova and the other plants in WA. The positives for working in a region like the Carajás in Brazil is that we are in an area that can get a 15% tax rate for the first 10 years, which is really favourable for the economics, and also, as previously said, we've got the less than 10 cents a kilowatt hour power costs. So the scoping study will be delivered in early March, and I believe that our shareholders will be very happy with the results. So in parallel to the base case study, we are evaluating the possibility of taking that concentrate and putting it through a POX and producing nickel metal and MSP products of copper, cobalt and zinc. POX testing is demonstrating that we get good extraction. The advantage of POX in producing the nickel metal is that you will get paid 100% LME nickel price. Now, which compared to the payabilities that you might get for a nickel concentrate, which might be 72 to 75%, that is all on the bottom line. So it's a very attractive case. In addition, you can focus on recovering your nickel and not worry so much about your nickel concentrate specs. So that allows you to increase your nickel recovery, and also any nickel metal will be sold FOB mine, so then you reduce your transporting costs. So there's many positives in taking the concentrate through to a metal, and we're investigating those. We need to do a different mine plan because obviously the revenue factors are different and the cost of factors are different. So we're aiming to deliver the scoping study for the value-added case at the end of March or early April. Now, we think that a POX case can work in Brazil for some major different reasons to other places in the world, and the main one being the low-cost clean energy, low-cost skilled labour, plenty of neutralising product like lime and laterites in the area, and abundant fresh water. So that scoping study will be delivered, as I said, in end of March, April, and I think shareholders will be very happy to see the results. So we're working very hard to drive the licensing forward, and we've done this before. We licensed the Jambero iron ore project in 3 years, and that was driven by Bruno Scarpelli, who is on site. Bruno's also had experience in licensing large projects in Pará. He helped Valley license the Salobo copper gold mine. So we've now collected all the study data for the Irarima. We're waiting for some technical data that will come with the completion of the scoping study, and we'll be able to deliver that at the start of Q2. Most of the area where our mine is situated will be on already cleared farmland, so we see very little impediment to getting the licensing. We have a strong relationship with the community, and we've got agreements with municipalities for upgrades and maintenance of the roads. Okay, so we have a very aggressive timeline. In the next 12 months, we're going to deliver 2 scoping studies and then a PFS, and we're going to lodge our environmental licence. So there's plenty of work for 2021. Beyond that and completion of PFS, we are aiming for a formal decision to mine at the end of 2023 that will give us the time to complete construction and have the mine operating by the end of 2024. It's an aggressive timeline, but we think it's achievable. So we have already have an outstanding resource base. We are working through our scoping studies that will deliver economic results in the next few months so people can see the value in this project. And now we want to see, we've spent the last 12 months on resource development drilling, and now we want to see how big this thing can grow. As I said, all the deposits are open at depth, so we've got plenty of drilling set out ahead of us. We've got 40,000 metres of planned step out, extensional and greenfields exploration drilling for 2021. So there's 3 ways that we think we can add to this project. The first, in the recent infill drilling, our improved understanding of the structure and the geological models have identified a model that we are able to get the control of the high-grade chutes. The drill hole you see in front of you is hole 104 that was drilled at the end of the last year when the geologist got onto the Jaguar Central high-grade chute. That returned 30 metres at 3.3% nickel. Including 12.1 metres at 5.4% nickel, so a really good high-grade intersection. Now, we've had a structural specialist on site, and he has identified these Z-shaped structures within Jaguar South and Jaguar Central that looks like where the fold axes run down the folds, the high-grade mineralisation is being concentrated, and they can be moderately to steeply plunging. So within the historic drilling, which is 100 metres apart, it would be very simple for these high-grade chutes to be in between the old drill holes. So we have a model to follow, and that drilling has already started. So we look forward to results from that in the coming weeks and months. And then drilling down dip. Our average drill depth is only 190 metres, and our deepest drill hole is 390 metres. So this thing has got very deep plumbing. In the Carajás, mines like Salobo and Sossego Valley are drilling over 1 kilometre deep and still intersecting semi-massive and massive sulphides. You'll see EM plates, these EM plates from downhole surveys. They indicate the presence of highly conductive semi-massive and massive sulphides and help our geologists to hit the next target down dip. So we have plenty of down dip drilling to try and increase the resources down dip and for the potential for underground mining beyond the open pit. And then good old-fashioned greenfields drilling. So in the Carajás, it's all about the structure, and these structures here, these mineralising structures, are some of the major structures in the regions that mineralise the other ISE mines. So they, where you see them in coincident with magnetic responses, because magnetite is associated with the mineralisation, and soil anomalies, we have multiple targets. We've been completing a lot of fixed loop EM surveys over the last 6 months, and they've identified multiple plates that we start to drill with a new RC contractor that comes on site in the next 2 weeks. So look forward to giving you results especially from Leon, Tigre, Filhote and Fliperama, hopefully in the next month or so. So in summarising, we have one of the biggest resources on the ASX. We're located in an infrastructure strong region of Brazil. We're going to deliver 2 scoping studies that will show the economics of this project, and we have 4 drill rigs on site with more diamond rigs to come and an RC rig to arrive in the next few weeks. So we have plenty of news flow from the drill bit, plenty of news flow from scoping studies, and we're well funded to complete this work over the next 12 months. Thank you very much.